Blasco's here, his nephew Chase.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Space Ghost, coming to you live from planet Earth, here in Orlando, Florida. Here we are at Free Play, and we're going to be talking with the man behind Twin Galaxies, which is something I can identify with, being an intergalactic traveler myself. So let's give it up for Walter Day. I have traveled around this galaxy and the universe for quite some time, and I have yet to find any of them that are identical. Yet you have twin galaxies. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, as most people know in the video game industry, in the pinball industry, that a long time ago,
In a galaxy
in Iowa, far, far away, I fell in love with playing video games. And I loved playing video games so much that I opened up an arcade as an excuse to be able to play more video games. So I could play them to 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. So as a 32-year-old, I was up there playing video games till 2 in the morning with all the 16-year-old kids who used to come in my arcade, which we called Twin Galaxies. And the name of Twin Galaxies just came out of the clear blue. When I was renovating the location that the Twin Galaxies eventually went into with my partner, one day, while driving there to put down some carpeting, I said, yeah, we'll call it Twin Galaxies. It came out of the clear blue. So we volunteered to be the scorekeepers for the global video game industry, and they all essentially said yes.
So you're the record keeper.
So we were the record
video
keeper.
games.
We were essentially what's now recognized as history's first esports organization. Our organization essentially is the birth of esports if you look at it from the perspective that we became an organization that actually created rules, enforced the rules, recognized champions and crowned the champions, kept the database of records, and did all the things connected to creating video game playing into an established, organized sport. So, and that was back in the beginning of 1982. So we're now almost 35 years into doing it. So it's been quite an adventure. Today I'm no longer connected to Twin Galaxies, except spiritually, because I'm out doing things with trading cards and trying to work on my own personal music career in a sense.
Right, okay. So now, Twin Galaxies has become a rather big thing. Did you ever expect for it to become as big as it is now?
Well, to be truthful, I thought Twin Galaxies was special from the beginning. Well, from the beginning, it had a lot of people's attention because Twin Galaxies in Ottumwa, Iowa, did become the crossroads of the video game world at that time for competitive gaming. We were a small arcade. We were not, financially endowed anyway, but however, people would come from other countries literally to say, oh, I've been to Twin Galaxies, because we were recognized as the world's most famous arcade. And shortly after that distinction began to grow, Ottumwa, Iowa itself proclaimed the city to be the video game capital of the world, because we become the crossroads for competitive video game playing back in 1982. And so I realized that we had an unusual life story going on, an unusually, an interesting plot trajectory. But of course, who could ever guess that almost 35 years later, Twin Galaxies would be a monumental name that's the official scorekeeper recognized by Guinness, and it's been in lots of movies. I think Twin Galaxies has been in about a dozen movies right now. And to really prove that it has grown, oh, look at this guy's shirt over there. Oh my God.
Well, there you have it. Well, that is awesome.
What can you say? If you've been on a t-shirt, what more is there in life?
Once you're on a t-shirt, you know you've made it. So, now the referee shirt, it seems to be synonymous with your image here, so where did the referee shirt come from?
Well, it's just, adjudication process in all sports, because we considered video game playing from the very beginning a sport, a competitive sport, and we brought organized, because there had been contests before Twin Galaxies came into existence, but what we did is we really made us an organized infrastructure that allowed the contests and the statistical results, meaning the high scores that resulted from the contests, to become part of a historical database that then could be turned into a sport where no matter where you were in the world, if you followed our rules and submitted the scores properly, your scores could be compared to anybody else's scores. So in a sense, or really exactly, we created esports because that meant that an infrastructure, a global network of arcades could now compete against themselves based on verified, confirmed high scores. Because remember, everything was high score based back then because that was just the technology and the way it was back then. So that was the beginning of esports, the beginning of video game playing as an established, organized, competitive sport.
All right, and so how long has that been around?
Well, the scoreboard was started on February 9th, 1982, and it became a big deal immediately. I had the eye, when I found out that no one was keeping track of the records, I thought of it for 24 hours. Then the next day, I called up 7 manufacturers and the 2 reigning magazines of that time, Replay Magazine and Playmeter Magazine. And I told them that we had a scoreboard we were establishing in our place, and we had scores already collected, and that we were keeping track of the records for the global video game industry. And through some miracle of fate, some bit of divine karma, all these people at the other end of those 9 phone calls that I made said, "That's great, thank you very much." And they took my name and number down so that they put it by the Rolodex of their main receptionist who answers the phone calls. So they said, well, this is great. Anytime someone calls about the scores, high scores in games, which was almost every day at that time, they would refer them to us. So I made those 9 phone calls. It took about a half an hour. Then I put the phone down, and I went back into the arcade and started playing Gorf. He's the Gorf champion. I went in and played Gorf, and about 15, 20 minutes later, one of my attendants tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You got a phone call from someone calling about a high score?" And so I went to the phone, and it was someone from Goodlettsville, Tennessee. His name was Casey Murphy. Never heard from him again. And he wanted to report a high score on Galaga. And so I looked at our scoreboard, and I saw we only had 1 score up there, and it was from our own night attendant who ran the arcade at night. And I turned to the phone and I said to him solemnly, I said, "You have the 2nd highest score in the world." And he about flipped out. He flipped out, like, "Oh my God, really?" So he's so excited, and he went back and played Galaga, and the next day called up with a score even higher. So he became the world champion. But since then, we never heard from Casey Murphy of Goodlettsville, Tennessee ever again. We'd like to put him on a trading card as the first. And so the scoreboard started as simple as that. It was very innocent, very organic, and it seemed that it had, it might be considered that it was a creative thing for me to go and create the scoreboard, but more than that, it had destiny on its side. Because stuff like this you can't really make happen through your intelligence, because there's just too many ways that it could not work out. But everything bounced in favor of it for the scoreboard to become the Twin Galaxy scoreboard and to become literally the birth of esports. So it's just a miracle, really, when I think about it, because there's a million ways it could have gone wrong or not happened or died. But here we are 35 years ago, and Twin Galaxies, as you said, is a pretty big deal.
Now earlier we were chatting, and you were showing me these trading cards. So I'd like to touch on that a little bit. So here's one of the cards, and I can see this. So this has video game iconic people on here. So tell me a little bit about your trading cards.
Well, there could be some people in this room right now who deserve to be on trading cards who are not yet on trading cards, because the trading card set that we created is not just about the world record holders or champions. It's all about the culture of our times, because we are the first gamers. It was our generation that gave birth to the cyber age, that gave birth to the video game age. We are the ones who were the first to embrace gaming, to adopt it as part of adopt it as a community and make it a lifestyle, so that now there are over 1 billion gamers, and the industry's worth over $100 billion annually. So it's a very big deal. And it started with us being the first persons to actually embrace it and love it and make it start moving forward. So that whole phenomena is not just based on a few select inventors or a few select world record holders, or a few select designers or game designers or business leaders, captains of industry. And actually, the video game and pinball industry has become a huge community that really has flourished and grown because of the activities and the contributions of probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. So the trading card set to me is a historical documentation of all of our experiences that when rolled together with the birth of the gaming age and then the continuation of that. So that's why there are people on there who have done things to organize events, or who have designed games, who've done art for games, who've done voiceovers on games and stuff like that. People who have contributed to the culture of our times. And what's interesting though, 35 years after this, kind of as we've gotten older and more mature, we realize that it really wasn't about games all along. It was actually about the process of community and friendship, because it was just the games that were used as the device to really interpersonal relationships and learning how to serve other people and embrace other people. Lots of deep, important qualities that are valuable in life were nurtured and brought to the forefront through the process of us all becoming a community based around the culture of gameplay, which to me turned out to be the most important benefit of it all. Far more important than getting high scores in games.
Now, most important, do they come with gum, and if so, what flavors?
I always liked the gum in the trading cards years and years ago when we were kids, but I think the gum was getting tainted or something by the ink or something, so they stopped doing it. Or it grow old because some people have the packs closed too long. I mean, they're still finding packs from like 1952 tops packs unopened and stuff like that. So I think the gum is like really not suitable to be chewing on. But we do want to take some of the cards we got, because we've designed 2,400 cards essentially, and about 1,500 of them actually been printed. So it's a lot of cards, a lot of different cards. And no one has a complete set yet because there's so many cards, it's almost not impossible, but a lot of work to get all the cards because of the way we've distributed them haphazardly. Because it's not actually a business plan, this works as a business plan, it's more of a labor of love, and that's why we've given away as gifts over 200,000 cards.
That's
just send them off in
big
bunches to school teachers or different kinds of people who just love them, and so the cards are so much fun. And as I said, there could be people in this room who deserve to be on cards because of their incredible, heartfelt contributions to the culture of our times.
Well, I wish you a world of luck with that. That's terrific. Now, back in 2012, Walt Disney Pictures released a film called Wreck-It Ralph, which was centered all around video game characters. Now, in the film, they had a character named Mr. Litwack, who bears a striking resemblance to you, sir. So, what I want to ask is, how does it feel to be an animated character?
I don't think I'm as animated as Todd Rogers.
Now, did you know that Disney was going to do this, and did they approach you? Did they call you about this project?
Disney never contacted me, and I had no idea. And when the movie came out, it was a huge wave. Suddenly I got contacted by lots of people saying, "You're in a movie." I said, "I am?" "Yeah, you're in a movie, you're this guy." And of course my name Walter is in the name Litwack in there. Walt Litwack, it's in there somehow. And just a couple hours ago, someone came up to me and said, "I got a 3-year-old son, and for some reason he thinks Litwack looks like you." So out of the innocent mouth of babes. So essentially from talking to people inside Disney, it was supposed to be me. And it was just their affectionate appreciation, or I think they call it testimonial, to me and my participation in the gaming age, that they made this character based on me. So yes, I am Litwack.
Well, there you go. That's better than being on a T-shirt is being in a Disney movie. How about that? So
I thought the Little Mermaid looked more like me, but I guess I'm wrong.
Now, during your career, you got to work with the Guinness Book of Records, keeping all these high scores. Tell me a little bit about that relationship. What was that like?
Well, that started in 1983. 1983, I kept petitioning them to run high scores. And they said, "We can't do it because we have no reliable sense of how to keep track of all the different settings, the different variables, the different variations, all the different possible things that could really shoot them in the foot because they didn't quite get it right and they don't like to make mistakes.
Right.
Because there were so many different settings or different ways or tricks or bugs or cheats or things that people could do that they had no handle on controlling or monitoring, so it was just too much of a nightmare. But they reviewed what we did with Twin Galaxies, and they saw that we trust what you're doing. We see that you're really into it because we would make the rules for each individual game, because rules were hand-tooled for each individual games based on what was found in the game, whether there's this cheat or this bug or this error or this problem or this technique that's illegal because it's unfairly violating the spirit of the game. And so we had a bunch of experts like Todd Rogers and Billy Mitchell who came to the forefront, who became just the guardians of the purity of the scoreboard. We tried our best to verify scores as well as we could, and we started doing a whole series of contests so that starting in the summer of '83, they regularly started receiving our scores and actually publishing them in their annual book. So I think it was either 3 years or four straight years that they published the high score records that we would generate from our annual contests. There were 2 contests a year, one around Christmas, New Year's time, and then one in July or August. So we did that for many years, back in '83, '84, '85, '86, and then someone took it for another year after I retired in '87. So yes, Guinness, but then in this modern era, I finally got them interested again, so that if you look at the 2006 Guinness Book of World Records, I think there's 89 records in there. And I think 82 or 83 of them I actually wrote all the text for and submitted it all to them. So it was based on the Twin Galaxies database that their whole new video game section in 2006 was launched. And when I saw it, I thought, my God, this is wonderful. So I called up the editor himself in London and I said, look, why don't you take all our stuff and we'll turn it into a whole formal book. And Guinness and Twin Galaxies will co-author a book of world records using the same formatting and technique and design that they're using for the Guinness Book of World Records. And they said, well, really, give us some ideas. So I started sending them all sorts of ideas by email. We interacted for a long time, and it led to what is now called the Guinness Gamers Edition. So the Guinness Gamers Edition directly resulted from me and the head of Guinness in London working out ideas and interchanging ideas. And
so this is a book that's out there now?
It's out there now. It's called the Guinness Gamers Edition, starting in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's about the 7th or 8th edition now. So we have this long-standing, and so they recognize us as the official scorekeepers for the world. They get some scores and different records from other different sources, but if it's a high score-based thing that needs to be completely verified, they only accept Twin Galaxies as the authorizing agents for verifying that score.
Well, Walter, it certainly seems that you have made your mark in this world. I congratulate you, sir, and I give you a one blast ray salute. So, now, completely unrelated, I'm also told that you're a musician as well.
Oh, yeah.
What is it that you play, sir?
Well, I play guitar and I play piano. And in 1985, I had this beautiful girlfriend who one night calls me up and says, Walter, I've secretly been seeing a friend of yours. And that caused so much heartache, the breakup that we had at that moment from her dating one of my friends, that for some reason I started hearing music. It's almost like channeling music or something, almost like you're listening to a radio and listening to programming, but it's songs that don't exist in the world yet. So before that stopped, whatever that phenomena was, and it started because of the heartache for some reason from breaking up with this girl. Before it was all over,
with a heartache.
yeah, before it was over, I wrote down and sang into a recorder like 138 different songs. And so I'm working on trying to get a bunch of them together, and they're what you could call pop. They're the kind of songs that, 80s rock would do, or Phil Collins would do, or Chicago would do, and
So that's the style of music that you're into?
It's all over the map, but it's not modern rap, it's not modern jazz, it's not country and western. It's more would be maybe a pop song you might hear on the radio. So
I see.
So and I play the diesel-powered accordion, and just kidding.
And now, do you just play for fun, or do you actually play professionally?
Oh, I've never played professionally. It's all for fun. However, I am going to be taking my time away from the cards and all this video game stuff to actually spend a lot of time in a studio soon, where I in the studio is going to try and get one of my songs done exactly as I hear it inside and see how that comes out. And upon that being done, and hopefully on a level that's perfect for my standards, we're going to move on to the next song. And that's my heart's desire now, to do the music and see what I can turn it into. But even if it doesn't turn into anything as a popular phenomenon, for me the satisfaction of the creative process coming to fruition is, to me, the biggest victory and the funnest thing of all.
So can we expect a CD sometime in the future of these stylings of day?
I hope so. The title of the CD is I Met Space Ghost. That's the first one coming out.
Well, I am truly honored, sir. Well, thank you, Walter, for coming on to the show today. I had a lot of fun. So, hope you do come back sometime.
Well, if you're space host, then I'm space guest, right?
That's right.
Okay.
All right, very good, sir. Thank you very much.